if you will, kind of tell us a little bit about the deployment, the sequence where your mind was, and how it really changed your optic on basically your marriage and his service.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's kind of not to change lanes on that, but something I was thinking about when you were talking was I did have a conversation with another veteran who and he kind of went through a lot of the PTSD, the things that ensue from that of what you're trying to get rid of the demons and all that with too, and the perspective that him and I had, we had like a 4 hour long conversation crying and whatever. And when it was over, I was like, man, I've never had closure or clarity because of the outcome of what happened that we'll get to of everything with me. And being able, and then this guy that I had talked to, he was like, I've also never, I've heard it from my wife of what I put her through. He's like, but the whole time you were talking, I was like, man, this killed her, crushed her. This is what she went through. This changed her, shaped her the rest of her life. This will affect her. And he's like, and now I'm sitting here thinking like, I felt so sorry for you. While you're telling me this, I'm crying for you. But I'm like, holy, that's what I did to my wife. And that's what she still has to go through. And I'm here to fix a lot of things, but the damage is kind of done. It does affect you mentally. So when my husband came home, we were young and he was somewhat of a different person every time. And I think that anything he did going in, he was already kind of little hard-headed, stubborn, wild, whatever. And I think that it just kind of, it changes things. And there was nothing for me. Being young and married would probably be hard enough. But being young, married, and then in that situation, there wasn't a lot of guidance around that for either of us on what to do. And that's what's kind of hard for me is obviously with the outcome of what happened, me being forced ultimately to leave him and separate. That was kind of my rock bottom point that was given by friends and family. But it was after years of just kind of autopilot, not really knowing what was going on, what we were supposed to do, how to fix it, how to help him. Yeah, so it's a lot.
So just something I want to bring up, and then I want to continue with this is my spouse, we've been together 20 years, and we got married in the middle of the mix of the high op tempo of the war. She is as much of an alpha as me. And when I would come home, very strong woman, very driven woman, but the fact that I had been gone for X amount of time, and then I want to come back in and be the kingpin, she, like she was it. She had become it. And we would bump just on that. And then after a week, we'd both get back into the grind, and then I would deploy again, and it would just repeat itself. So even older, more mature couples that have been together for a while, trust me, there's bumps. Nobody comes home from a deployment. The kids, if you have kids, it's always the kids it's transparent to the kids. They just want mommy or daddy home. It's the spouse, male or female, there's an adjustment period. Yeah. So, and you had a beyond an adjustment period. You had a separation period, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah. You're talking about when I separated from him?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It got dark, as anyone who has ever experienced PTSD and alcoholism was the problem with that. And that actually started really, really young and pretty quickly. And then it escalated and it continued to get worse and worse. And that wasn't something I was prepared to deal with either, right? So just when you're dealing with addiction and then you have other problems, again, you're compounding this stuff on to being 18, young, married, navigating everything in life, and then military deployment and all this stuff. But I didn't really know what else to do. I felt like I exhausted everything. And I didn't, again, have a lot of support. And I think people didn't really realize how bad it was within our home, because it was just like he was good at kind of maintaining and dealing with things, and I was not going to talk about it to a lot of people. I'd reached out to like friends and family for help, like his family particularly. And it was just, maybe you need to kind of scare him straight, and this will be what will make him go get help, because the man was stubborn as ever. So that was a problem with it too. And so I chose to separate. And within that separation time, so much had happened, and we considered to reconcile. And in the period of all of that, he he was finally went to the VA, and they prescribed him some medication to help with the alcohol. And he went out one night and he drank with the pills that he had taken, and his heart stopped at 30.
30 years old.
Hmm.
And obviously that, how did you, I mean, that just had to wreck you. And
Hmm.
I mean, you were thinking about maybe making amends, where can this go? Time
Yeah.
heals all wounds, and then
Yeah.
boom.
We were absolutely back into the, okay, what can we do to make this work again? The resentment from me being like, you ruined our marriage and whatever was kind of fizzled of like, but this is our marriage and we've done this for 10 years and we love each other. So let's make it work and figure it out. And then boom. Yeah. Yeah. The last time that I had spoke to him, he was drinking and he was going through a lot of stuff in his personal life and things that happened during our separation. That's all, his stuff. And I was pretty pissed off because I was like, how are you drinking and talking to me? I was super resentful on that of this is what ruined our marriage. And, but hearing him, he was struggling. And that's something that's hard for me to swallow was, again, I felt like I didn't know what to do. And I think that that is something that the veteran that I was talking to you about, that him and I that discussed things, was I asked him, what should I have done? Because I'm, 5 years after his death and we would have been married for 17 years. And now, and I'm still young. I'm like, that would have been such a great accomplishment. I'd have been so happy. I wish I had the story of, yeah, I was married and we suffered and went through this and that and we won, right? And we're still married and we've had this long marriage. But instead, when people are like, tell your story, it's been really hard for me because I have a lot of the guilt where I'm like, someone said to me the other day, like, oh, it's like a rise from ashes of everything you become. I'm like, whose ashes? Like, that's not, I feel like I failed. I got divorced and he died. Those are not two winning things to me that I'm like, let me tell you my championship story. Because again, if he would have been here still and we were married, then I feel like I would have had my spouse next to me. We survived this. We conquered. Here's the story. But it's like, I still to this day, I don't know what I would have done differently, how I could have saved him. The guilt of, holy crap, I knew he was suffering for 10 years and I did beg certain people around us and what was going on. And then I left him and he died, you know?
Well, your story, and we're going to get to that, is what you've done with it in the aftermath. And I mean, and don't, so I'll just and give you a break here for a second. I have a belief. So when I separated or retired from the military, 30 years, I refused to have them diagnose me with PTSD. My culture, when I retired, we were very proud. I wasn't looking for, VA benefit or something like that. I was like, no, I don't have it. And I'll be honest with you, I sat down with a bunch of veterans afterwards that are 30, 35-year guys that are some hardcore dudes in the soft community. We all looked at each other and we're like, yeah, we all have PTSD. We
Yeah.
know we do. There's not a guy, but here's the one thing I can tell you, and this is a belief. This is not science or anything. I think everything that the guys I run with, the guys that are pretty hardcore, I think the thing that affects us is, truthfully, not the separation from family, not the deployments, not the fog of war, not battle. It's losing your buddies on the battlefield. It's that simple. Um, that's the one that wrecks us all. That's the one that gets us emotional. That's the one that gets some guys to get out at an earlier age. Especially depending on when their period was in the service. We've had a couple events in our community where we've had grave loss in units, and it changes and alters people. So I have never lost a sibling or a spouse or anything from an impact of PTSD or war. So when I sit here and I hear your story, I'm trying to relate, but I can't be in your shoes.
Yeah.
So
I could never have been in my shoes. I think that there's so many, even when people are divorced is like death. I'm like, yeah, that stung. That was rough, but he was still there. I think it was that ultimate, the day that I got the call that he died was like blackout for me because I immediately was like, no, I can fix this. Where is he at? What do you mean? What did he do this time? He's an idiot. Did he get in trouble? Is he in jail? Who did he fight? It was that immediate. And then it was like, no, he's gone. And I'm like, this person, especially your spouse. You know, your mom knows you when you grow up, your brothers know you. My brothers don't even hardly know everything I do now, the woman that I am, right? Like they know the little girl, the sister. My husband knew me and I knew him. And that was the person I was building my whole entire life with and around. So when that, even though we were separated, it always felt like it would still be him and I. And then when he died, it was this immediate like, whoa, like he's gone. And then you start to think about so many things that, you know, you could have done different or what he was suffering with. And um it's definitely nothing I've ever experienced or could even imagine before.